What's up, boys? It's Math, and I'm making a core gameplay guide today. It'll be going over a bunch of things that you can apply to any character at any time. No patch will ever change this. So, yeah, let's get into it. First, we're going to be going over mechanical skill, which will go over a few things. The first one will be accuracy. So, accuracy, it's pretty self-explanatory, obviously. It's just landing your shots. Skill shots. It's really important on ranged characters because it's way harder to actually hit stuff with ranged characters. But it's obviously less important on melees because with melees you can just like run people down and like left click the shit out of them and it's like pretty easy. It also applies to like different AoEs and stuff too, which are a little bit harder, like Varesh E and stuff, little things that you have to hit like that. And next will be cancel casting, using your cancel key to just, you know, get out of bad situations or bait an enemy into using something. So, I don't know, for example, if you counter and you don't have any other escape, you might want to just cancel that counter so you can obviously get out of the situation as fast as possible. Or if you bait somebody with an M1 or something so that they'll counter and you can, you know, get something from them. And next up, we'll be having mind games. This is pretty big at higher elo, doing stuff like cancel casting snipe or rook space to bait somebody's outs early, or doing mix-ups such as like hitting someone over and over one round and then the next one, you know, just engaging on them and not doing anything. Things like that are what make the game pretty in-depth at higher elo. And then next up will be reaction time. Doing things on reaction, like cancel casting on reaction if you know you won't get any value for something, or countering only when you see a projectile in the air. Those are pretty important at high elo too, especially if you play counter characters. Being able to counter something guaranteed is really, really valuable. And next up, we'll be going over positioning, a few things under positioning. The first one will be the triangle. It mainly applies to threes, but it's a good rule of thumb for any comp that you're going to be playing in threes. If you imagine each player on either team as being a point on a triangle, then each healer would be in the back, and this is especially true for M1 healers like Pest or Paloma, since they can't heal you without line of sight, so you always want to keep that in mind. When somebody breaks their triangle and gets out of position, that's how you can punish. That's like a little rule of thumb to start punishing people for. This will always depend, obviously, on like the cooldowns the enemies use and stuff, so you don't want to just like strictly follow the triangle method, but it's just good for new players to kind of get an idea of like how you want to be standing around. And next up will be threat range. This is like knowing how far the enemy's abilities can go, acknowledging it and playing accordingly, you know, like spacing around it. A good example of this is Ty's M1, since if you stay at perfect range, you can get the damage forward and back. Other things like Rukon pull or Ivor rockets are something you want to watch out for at all times and position yourself in a way to keep getting beneficial trades as well as not getting poked out or mispositioned. As you can see in this clip right now, I'm kind of just spacing around the right mouse button of Jumong. And then next up, we got orb control. Orb control is really important in BATTLERITE. It can, you know, change rounds if you already have a lead. It can increase your lead, or if you are behind, it can help you out. You want to be positioned to always get it when it comes up. Mid orb spawns at 140 on the clock, and every 30 seconds after that, when it's taken, it'll come again. So that's something to keep in mind. And it's good to know your combos, how to 100-0 the whole orb, and you know, steal it from the enemy and stuff. And then next up will be cooldown management, which is probably the most important. This is like the bread and butter to BATTLERITE. Every good player in the game at high elo is good at this. So you want to be finding value for things that you're using. So such as like shields, you want to be putting on them right when they're about to take damage so that they actually use it. Or clarities, you want to dispel actual debuffs. And same with offensive abilities, you want to be using them to keep the pressure and force outs on enemies, such as like Sirius's Petrify can do that pretty easily. And next up will be punishing. This is probably the most important one if you're going to take anything from this video. Punishing somebody's cooldowns. You want to be keeping track in your head of what the enemies are using. It's hard to do it on multiple targets. That's why having a team is really good, and being in comms. But you should be tracking their major cooldowns, such as, you know, counters or big shields, or their escape abilities like Varesh's R or Taya's R. You want to be knowing if they have them up or not, and if you do force them, then you want to make sure that your team is ready to pounce on them. Another thing you can do is call out your enemy's counters if they're going to come back up as well, so that your team doesn't just hit a counter and, you know, fuck you over if it's like Rook, or, I mean, even any counter, really. And just a reminder that pretty much every single team that's amazing in this game in top-tier tournaments are always good at punishing. Like this, I can't go over it enough. how good this is, especially for solo queue. If you're keeping track of it and other people are keeping track of it, then you can really start punishing and getting a lot done. And then finally, the last one under cooldown management is staggering cooldowns, your own cooldowns. In order to keep from being hard punished, you need to use your movement to your advantage and do your best to spread out your own defensive abilities. This is why positioning is so important in the game, because it'll help you keep your outs up, and once the enemy has used an out, only then can you really risk using your own to go on top of them and position to start punishing them, because obviously they use their out, so a space for a space isn't the worst thing ever. Obviously don't put yourself in a position to die, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope that helped. It maybe even gave you a little bit better of an understanding of how exactly to be playing the game. So yeah, if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments section, and I'll be sure to respond. Thanks.